Hello, everyone, and welcome to Super Podcast Action Committee, episode 142. Had to look that up because I forgot. Andrew Eisen here, along with Zachary Knight. Hello, Zachary.
Hello, everybody.
So, do I have... Yeah, okay, I turned that light off because I tried the dining area light, and it just made this humongous glare on the wall right here later in the day, so it's off now because that didn't work out so well.
Yeah.
And I had to take pictures of my apartment because my mom made me and wants to see where I live. So I did, and I'm like, but Mom, it's not, as you can see with the blank shelf over there and boxes on the floor, I'm not done yet because I've still got some furniture on order and I can't do it all at once because, budget. So next thing is this TV over here is I bought a mount for the wall. So the TV is going on the wall. The dresser it's sitting on is going in my bedroom, and the tube television I have is going to go on top of the dresser. Because my dresser is really the only piece of furniture I can find that is large and sturdy enough to hold a 123-pound tube television. So,
nice. Now, see, I've got a big, it's 36-inch, but it's a TV with its own kind of cabinet. And it's got little casters on the bottom so I can move it around somewhat with ease. It doesn't move very well over carpet. And then it's got a little swivel that makes it a little difficult to move itself. But yeah, it's a pretty nice little cabinet, and it's got a little glass shelf underneath to put some, where I could put video game consoles. And I just don't have it. I don't have a place for it. And so unfortunately it's in a storage unit, but it's a nice TV. It's really, really heavy. Like, I've carried it myself, but only 15 feet, moving it from one place to another. I could not carry this thing for any extended period of time because it's freaking heavy.
Well, also the tube televisions are large. The TV I'm talking about is a 30-inch widescreen tube television, and there's just really no good way to grip it. You need a second person on the other side. I mean, yeah. I've managed to hoist it up and put it on a top of the dresser, but it's tough. And you're thinking, oh man, if I drop this, I could put my knee straight through
now,
the
a lot of TVs that size will have grips on the back of them.
It has, on the very sides, it has these little finger holds, but so you can kind of carry it in front of you, but you just kind of have to do a waddle back and forth because if you walk normal, your knees are punching the screen.
Yeah, so. See, my TV, I just do a big bear hug. I'm like this big around, and then I just kind of bear hug it down low, stand up, and then just do the waddle thing because this thing's like 4 feet tall. So that's there's absolutely no lifting it up above my knees. Yeah.
So, let me grab something real quick. Do I have enough play to get over here? No. Hang on. Okay. I have some extra DVDs that maybe some of you want.
Nice.
So, time to get rid of my stuff. Now, if you want any of this stuff, and this will be first come, first serve, PM me on YouTube or Facebook or direct message me on Twitter or something. And depending on where you live, really all I add, just PayPal me, I don't know, whatever would cover it to ship this to you. So, $5 or $10 depending. So I think this is this is the fourth. So I have, for some reason, the fourth DVD of The Irresponsible Captain Tyler. This is a funny show. So I have this one. I have, I think, movies 2 and 3 of Echo Azarak, which are Japanese horror films, I think. I remember them being okay, and it has the box. Don't have the first movie, though. I mean, I do. I have all of these. You'll see them. You can see them on the shelf somewhere. I also have, let's see, the Yu Yu Hakusho. This is the very first collection, which comes in an incredibly flimsy box. But some of them, like Dark Tournament Saga Part 2, comes in an actual sturdy box. So these are all duplicates that I have. You can actually see Yu Yu Hakusho right there. So if anyone wants these, just let me know. PayPal me some money to cover shipping, and you can have them. And if for some really weird reason you wanted me to sign them or something, I guess I could do that, but my signature ain't worth jack, so I would just be defacing it.
One of these days, you never know.
One of these days. So anyway, just thought I'd get that out there. I actually have my video game set up now. Oh, another piece of furniture I got was a small TV stand. It's a 3-shelf thing, and the TV is supposed to go on the top, but my TVs are way too heavy for this. So really what it's going to be the switcher box, the DVD player, the every console from Wii onwards, or GameCube onwards, I guess, but my Wii is my GameCube. So yeah, exactly. Dream Peppers is hashtag giveaway 4th DVD responsible captain. It's irresponsible Captain Tyler or Taylor. I have to look at it. What is it again? Tyler. It's actually a really funny show. It's a good show. I don't know who wants the 4th DVD, but I've got an extra one.
Yeah, I guess that's better. Yeah, that's actually kind of worse because I've got Legend of Dragoon, and it's a 4 CD game for the PlayStation 1, but I've only got the first 3 discs. Mm-hmm. Technically, it's my brother's game because I'm borrowing it from him. But what happened was he originally had it, the black label edition, and somehow the 4th disc broke, and so he bought the greatest hits version of the game and then just swapped the disc out. And so I've got the greatest hits one without the 4th disc. So once I get around to actually playing this game and I get to the fourth disc, he said he'll loan it to me. But yeah. It's always a pain when you're missing one of the discs off of something like that.
I was going through my stuff as I was organizing it, and I have a bunch of DVDs that are too big for any of the shelves. For example, the Escaflowne box is too tall. The Ghostbusters box is too tall. Let's see, My Hime, which I didn't think was very good. I'm not even sure why I bought that. The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, I think that is. That one's actually on the shelves, but the boxes are really nice. I just can't get rid of them. I don't even like the show that much. I bought it because all of my friends and every review I read was, this is the most amazing show ever. And so I said, all right, cool. And I bought it. I'm like, this is very okay. Not horrible, but I didn't really care for it that much. But I've got it now. So Kirigane, I have to look at Kirigane Orange Road, something like that. That's a great show. I like that one. I've got a lot of anime, actually. You can see Urusei Yatsura, all of it. Some more is down there. You can see the pink. So yeah, fun stuff.
So Laxter says that his Wii U is his Wii, and he says it's too bad it can't be his GameCube too.
Yeah,
that would be nice. See, I've got I've got my GameCube, and I'm not getting rid of it because I've got the Game Boy Player, and I love the Game Boy Player. It's what I use my GameCube for. I've got my Wii, and I use that to play my GameCube games.
I've actually been playing some Game Boy game, the Donkey Kong on Game Boy from 1994, which I bought.
Oh, that one is good. I like that.
Oh, yeah, it's great. I'm playing it on my 3DS. I bought it with the coins from the Nintendo's now closed Club Nintendo promotion thing, along with a couple other games. I also got the Metroid 2 on the Game Boy. Got one of the Wario games. Mm-hmm.
Which Mario game did you get?
4, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think because it was like Super Mario Land 3 Mario World or something like that, or Wario Land, I think, because the first Wario game was basically was labeled as a Super Mario sequel, and then they branched it off as the second one on were actual Wario games. But
Goth Skunk points out that I could take this entire collection here, and you're not seeing all of it. There's more that way, and there's another shelf over there. And I could put them on a 10-inch 2-bay NAS with 2 4-terabyte hard drives. And you're right, I could, but I like this. I like having all this stuff here. I like looking at it. I mean, even shows like My Hime, which I didn't think was that great. The box is neat, and I look at it, and I think it's cool. And this is my collection. I own this.
Yeah. Well, and I've considered doing the whole hard drive thing, just burning all my DVDs onto it, and it's actually something that I would like to do because I've got kids and they tear up discs and everything. But it's just I'm at the point where it's like, okay, it's going to take me like 12 hours to burn all these discs on all these DVDs onto this hard drive. Do I really want to do that? Maybe it's one of those things that's like, just set it up, and then as the kids want to watch a movie, burn it then. It's like, okay, you want to watch this? Okay, it's not on the computer. Burn it on there, and then good to go. It's
yeah. I actually do have all of this stuff cataloged so that if my place ever does burn to the ground, I know what to replace. And my homeowner's insurance should actually cover replacing my entire collection if I used it entirely to replace my DVDs instead of my clothes. But you never know. So, one of these shelves, as I said, is over here, and that's holding all my video games from GameCube onward, all the disc games.
Yeah.
All my cartridge games are in the dresser drawers, all the Super NES, Nintendo. Atari is actually in a box in the closet. So... let's see. Gypsy Brigade, I think you're due. Hello, Gypsy Brigade. Asks if we're upset about Club Nintendo shutting down. No, because Nintendo is going to replace it with something that is hopefully better. Club Nintendo was always a fine idea that was never quite executed correctly, or even as well as it was in Japan. We seem to be the second or third thought for Nintendo here in America anyway, and probably Europe too. Japan got all kinds of really neat, cool stuff if you're into tchotchkes and collectibles and things like that. I'm personally not. I didn't care, but a lot of people really thought that stuff was cool. But so it'll be interesting to see what Nintendo comes up with next, and hopefully it'll be the full account system that links everything together, and the thing that we've all wanted, that Nintendo kind of does in certain ways, but not really. So yeah. But I mean, it is kind of sad to see Club Nintendo go, just for nostalgia reasons. You're like, I had coins and I got platinum rewards. But it's going to be replaced, I think, by the end of the year, or at least end of the fiscal year, with something new and hopefully better. So, especially with, as Dream Peppers point out, there are a lot of PSN and Xbox Live promos. So Nintendo, despite what it may say, does have competition out there that it needs to compete with. Yeah. So there are other promotional services like PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live Gold that it needs to look at and say, okay, now why would people want to have a Wii U? What kind of perks could that give you? Why would you want to be part of Club Nintendo? So
shoot, I think if they did a new Club Nintendo and they decided to give away games, I think they should just give away. My personal thing is they should give away free virtual console games, classic games. I think that's enough to draw, to get people in. Maybe throw in a couple of WiiWare games or whatever they are now, the eShop games. That would be a good thing. But I think mostly the classic games. That's something that the other consoles don't have.
Yeah. I also think Nintendo misses some opportunity. Maybe they don't do this because they really don't need to, but it would be nice to see things like, just for example, NES Remix, which they released in the last year or two, which is a collection of remixed old Nintendo games like Super Mario Brothers and Legend of Zelda. And it takes almost like a WarioWare. It takes a small section of the game and says, okay, you're in a Legend of Zelda level, but run Mario through there and beat Nocturok. Just mixing them up, changing them up, giving you weird things to do. One thing they could have done is say, okay, if you own NES Remix, you get $1 off the purchase of any of the games that are included. So if you play the game and it's like, I'd like to buy the original Legend of Zelda, buck off. $1 off. Not hopefully that you didn't mishear what I said. Small things like that. And Iwata has hinted at some type of a reward for Nintendo fans who are, loyal Nintendo fans and buy all kinds of stuff. Who knows what form that will take, but, maybe something like that. They did have that digital promotion where the more stuff you bought on the eShop, for every, I don't know what it was, every $50 you spent, you got a $5 in credit or something like that. That goth misheard. Sorry. Anyway, I think that's. So I played Donkey Kong 94 this week. I played a little. I'm still putzing around with Pokemon Shuffle, because that's something I just look at each night, and they have new things. Tried to play Splatoon, couldn't. Other than that, just been doing 30 days of Netflix. And recorded day 14 earlier this afternoon.
And you released day 8 today?
Today's day 9. So I started on the first. Okay. So each day is a day.
Because you got Maniac was released today. What was yesterday's video?
Yesterday was Grand Piano.
Okay, yeah, I watched that one.
Both Elijah Wood.
And yes, I figured out the twist, as you were describing.
In Grand Piano?
Yeah. I was like, yeah, that's the only reason I could see why someone would be forced to play this particular song on this particular piano. The only other reason was, you have some really OCD person who's a big fan of the live. That's the only other reason.
Yeah. Someone who's just
that would be a great
psychologically
twist,
obsessed with this guy, and it's like, I'm doing it for you, man. I'm doing it for you. This is the only way you can reach your full potential. No, it's not that. Dream Pepper says Donkey Kong 99. What? No, Donkey Kong 94, as in 1994. It's a Donkey Kong game that released for the Game Boy in 1994, I believe.
And it is an awesome Donkey Kong game if you ever pick it up.
Yeah,
I really liked it.
It takes the original 3 or 4 level structure of the Donkey Kong arcade game and makes it, I think it's like 100 levels. I'm currently on, I just started Area or World 8. I would assume that's the last one. And Dream Peppers asks, am I watching a movie by day? Are you? If you mean a day, there will be 30 movies, one for each day of the month, except the 31st, because that's just the way it shakes out. Maybe I'll do an extra movie or a making of or something for the 31st. I don't know. But I'm recording most of them on the weekends and Wednesday nights because it's really the only time I have to do it. And I started a week early just to get a jump on it. Tomorrow's movie is actually the first 5 episodes of Gem and the Holograms, a cartoon from the 80s, which if you want to see me laugh so hard I cry, that's the episode for you. Laughter is contagious, so you will probably bust a gut laughing watching me laugh so hard I cry as I try to talk about a cartoon from the 80s. That was a really fun episode. Today I did, what did I watch? I'm actually going to watch, day 15 I'm going to record tonight, and I'm going to watch Barbarella, which is a cult movie from the late 60s starring Jane Fonda that I really know nothing about other than it's a cult movie from the late 60s that stars Jane Fonda. It's a space movie. It's probably really cheesy and dumb, but hopefully in a really entertaining way. Oh, Laxter says, I'd ask if you changed your shirt for each video so it looked like you were watching day by day, but no, I always wear this. So, although I do have a new stuffed animal sitting on my table in each video for really no good reason other than to help hide the microphone. But,
oh, that's what they're there for, is to hide the mic?
Yeah, that's what I put it there for, is to hide the microphone. Because my setup, in my old place, the counter was high, so I could put the microphone just under the counter and sit at the counter and it still pick me up. But I don't really have the levels are just right where the microphone, if I put it under the table, would be too far away, and and to get it off camera, it sits too far away. So I put it on the table and put a stuffed animal in front of it. And I have enough stuffed animals to get through 30 days. So that's
well, and other things, because you used a He-Man action figure for one. So, and then
Gypsy Brigade says use a stuffed alligator. I don't have a stuffed alligator, but I do have a really large stuffed grasshopper, which is awesome. Dream Pepper is okay, and then you'll drop the Netflix sub. Yeah, because I'm cheap. Are you guys thinking about doing a best guess session about E3? Yeah, we could do that. Probably the Saturday before E3.
Yeah, I think that would be the Saturday before, and then after that weekend after E3, we do our 5-hour episode.
I don't think we've been at 4 hours, but I don't think we've ever gone straight 5. So, all right, let's talk about something. We didn't have a poll this week because, well, the plugin for our poll broke.
Nice.
I wrote the poll question, and it has 2 spaces for response options. So I put in option 1, I put in option 2, I hit the button for add more options, and it just deleted everything. So our web person, who's a part-timer, is going to look at that when he has a chance, and hopefully that'll work next week. So sorry about that. Yeah. So let's talk about a story that I was going to write for the site this week, but didn't because I didn't have time. Sorry. And I really feel bad about that because, James asks me to cover something. I say, absolutely. And I say, I just got inundated with a lot of work. And I guess I shouldn't feel bad because I do have a full-time job, which is, my number one responsibility, and game politics does take a back seat to that, unfortunately. But hey, STL creator, nice to see you. So let's talk about this story, which is a little spat between Good Old Games and Green Man Gaming over Witcher 3 keys. Now, earlier in the Witcher 3 comes out pretty quick.
CD Projekt and Green Man Gaming.
I'm sorry, yeah, it's CD Projekt Red, not necessarily Good Old Games. But So GameSpot noticed that Green Man Gaming had the best offer for Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, which retails for $60, but Green Man Gaming was selling it for $39, 35% off. And they wrote an article said, hey, if you want to buy it somewhere, that seems to be the cheapest place to get it. A representative from CD Projekt Red told GameSpot that Green Man Gaming's codes were coming from an unknown source. And as such, CD Projekt Red wasn't seeing any money from any sales that are made at Green Man Gaming. So CD Projekt Red said, I would kindly ask our fans not to buy via Green Man Gaming at this time. We've not sold them keys and don't know the origin of them. Green Man Gaming, for its part, released a statement to GameSpot, which says let me sum up it because it's really long. It says we talked to CD Projekt Red for a long time, and we really wanted to work out a deal, but CD Projekt Red wanted to sell them through their own platform, Good Old Games, so that fell through. And it says, we believe that CD Projekt Red's desire to support their own platform by working with retail outlets that would not conflict with their own is greater than that of meeting the demands of their audience. Therefore, we made the decision to indirectly secure the product and deliver it to our customers. Which is interesting because it still doesn't tell us where the hell they got their keys from.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, and, maybe they got them from a perfectly legitimate source, but there is something a little fishy here. And last time I looked, which was yesterday, the game was not on sale at Green Man for $39 anymore. I think it was higher than that. It was like $49 or something.
Yeah.
So, you have any thoughts on what might be going on here, Zachary?
Well, I don't think this is the first time Green Man Gaming has been in the news. At least, this kind of thing sounds familiar from them, but I can't quite put my finger on a specific event. I just know that something like this has happened before, and with keys like this, I do remember stories about third-party providers. Say they, back when the Humble Bundle would provide Steam keys individually for games. Now they do this whole thing with connect the accounts with Steam and everything. But back when they had the individual Steam keys, they would people would or companies would buy up Steam keys for like $1 and get Steam keys for all these games, and then resell them for $5 after the Humble Bundle was over. And that sort of thing happens. As for Green Man Gaming, you would think that if this was a legit source for these keys, that they would actually say, "Hey, we're getting it from here," or at least provide something, to at least CD Projekt Red to say, "Hey, this is where we're getting," because it really sounds fishy when they're being that evasive about this whole thing. Because CD Projekt Red says, there's, or as the stories say, there's really not a way to get these keys unless you're getting them through GOG. And
yeah, I mean, it's possible that Green Man Gaming just bought a bunch of Witcher 3s through Good Old Games and is just selling them at a loss, but that doesn't seem like a really good idea.
Well,
Matthew points out that Green Man Gaming is considered a legit third-party store, and I want to specify that yes, that is true. Green Man Gaming is a legit store. CD Projekt Red just decided not to give them keys and is wondering where the heck they got their keys from.
Yeah. So that's just kind of really crazy, and I just with this news, I would be very wary of buying the game through Green Man Gaming, because you might end up not being able to play it if they didn't get the keys from a legit source. But yeah, I'm trying to think of where else they could have gotten these keys. Maybe they bought a bunch of, I don't know if this is games available on a box set, like a physical version. Maybe they bought a bunch of those wholesale from a distributor and then just opening them up and inputted all the CD keys from that. I don't know.
Possible. Yeah,
that's something else that I've seen happen before too. So
yeah, as I said a minute ago, they may have just bought up a bunch of copies and sold them at a loss, which initially doesn't strike me as a good idea. But Witcher 3 is a big, attractive game that a lot of people are looking forward to, even a few people are in our chat here. And they may think that loss is worth, selling it, it's the cheapest at Green Man Gaming, so everyone comes to Green Man Gaming to buy it, and while they're there, maybe they'll say, "Hey, this is a nice place. Think I'll stick around and buy some more stuff."
Yeah,
at least that would what the hope would be.
Well, and that's something that companies do all the time. Is like Amazon, they'll sell the Kindle dirt cheap in order to get people to actually buy. To buy Kindle books, and it's a loss leader. Same thing with the consoles. there's no way that your PS4 and Xbox One are making a profit at $400.
Yeah.
They make their money off of the games that are sold. So
Nintendo has to make money off the console because there are no games to make money off of.
But definitely I could see them, having bought a bunch of, physical copies and just
grabbing the keys,
grab the keys off of those. Especially if the box is just a box with a little slip of paper inside with the key in it, which would tick me off. But
Skunk suggests that perhaps it was a disgruntled CD Projekt Red employee out back with a trench coat. Hey, want to buy some Witcher 3 keys?
I have a hard time believing that, but yeah, it's I guess that is a possibility, but I'm sure that good old games or CD Projekt Red would have a way of tracking that kind of thing, especially within their company structure.
Yeah. So, all right, let us move on to another topic. Oh, this is a fun one. Guild Wars 2, a game I know zero about. But
it's an MMO like World of Warcraft.
Okay. All right. So, AreanNet, the company that operates it, found somebody cheating. Yeah, this person apparently used a third-party program to increase his speed and power and teleport inside enemy structures without the use of game mechanics like siege structures or the aid of teammates. So, naughty, naughty you. Apparently, AreanNet found this person. Someone forwarded a YouTube video of this guy teleporting all over the place, found out who it was, took control of his character, removed all the character's clothing, so the character was just in his boxers, walked him up to the top of a castle tower, where the king would go out and address the masses. Hey, everybody, it's Taco Tuesday. And jumped off and plummeted to the ground and died. Then deleted that character and the other character on the account. And this was all captured in a video and posted to YouTube. So, now, do you think that was fair of AreanNet? Do you think that, or was that perhaps going a bit too far? And if so, at which point did it cross the line?
Yeah. The Gypsy Brigade says doesn't think it's necessary to say an MMO is like World of Warcraft. No, what I said was it's an MMO like World of Warcraft. It's
for the two people who don't know what an MMO is.
Yeah,
that watchers. I'm pretty sure most of our
6 in one, half a dozen in the other. But as for this event, I don't know. I think he was apparently this guy was very, very upfront and in your face about his cheating, like very public about it. So I think making a public spectacle out of this might have been, it's probably okay. It's probably not something they're going to do with everybody who's, worthy of a ban, but still, it's a very public spectacle. And I think they were probably going for the whole, making an example out of this guy so that other people know not to cheat. And, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of reaction the community gives, as a response to this. But I think it could be something worth doing every once in a while, especially if the person's very blatant. Now, if you're banning someone because they're harassing another player, you don't want to do that. It's just delete the guy, ban the person. So if it's a private infraction, don't make a public spectacle out of it. But if it's a big public infraction, then I could say do it in every now and then, but probably not with everybody that does this.
Yeah. So All right.
Apparently, Ritlock would approve, but I don't know who Ritlock is.
Was that in our article or something?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah. KJX in
Keydex.
the comments said that.
Ritlock. I don't know who that
Yeah.
is either.
It's probably a character from the game.
We're old and out of touch, Zachary. Goth Skunk mentioned a little bit earlier when I was talking about his suggestion that, a back alley trench coat. What are you buying? And he's quoting the merchant from Resident Evil 4. He says something like, hello, stranger, or something like that. I can't remember the dialogue, but what are you buying? What are you selling? For some reason, that character is so damn memorable. Resident Evil 4 is one of my favorite games of all time. That's an awesome game.
I owned that at one point, but I never actually played it because I was never a big fan of the Resident Evil games. So.
It's, if you, why weren't you a fan? What turned you off about the games?
I don't know. I watched my sister play it. And her husband at the time, and they really liked it. And I watched it, and I was like, yes, okay. It just never appealed to me. I'm not a fan of zombie games in general, I guess.
Well, you might give 4 a try because it's different enough from the previous Resident Evil games that you may no zombies in this one, as a matter of fact. It's different enough that you might want to give it a try. Let's see. Oh, we had a comment over in Mark Cloud over on YouTube asks me to talk about the kid from the Babadook. Did you see that episode?
Yeah, I watched that one.
Okay. For those of you who don't know, one of my 30 days of Netflix was a movie called The Babadook. And broadly a horror movie about a haunted children's pop-up book called Mr. Babadook. And it's a movie about a mother and her 8-year-old son who, for my money, is one of, if not the most single horribly irritating child character in film history. And damn near torpedoed the movie for me. And in the video in the 30 Days of Netflix video, I talk about it. I am really unkind to this character.
Yes, you were.
So I'm like, I want this child to die. I want the Babadook to disembowel him and shove his guts in his face. This kid. 4 minutes into the movie, and I wanted to throttle this kid. That's how irritating he was. Now, Zachary, I'm guessing you haven't watched the Babadook.
No, I haven't watched the movie.
Okay.
No.
Now, as a parent, I don't have kids, thank goodness. What were your impressions? Were you thinking something like, yeah, I could kill my kids sometimes too? Or was it the more parental, if you had kids, you'd understand and be more accepting type of thought?
Let's see.
Make sure no one's listening at the door first, Zachary.
Well, my son came in to get my wife's laptop cord, and then he's just sitting here staring at the computers. I'm trying to shoo him out. I don't know. I'd have to watch the movie to see this kid's behavior to kind of get your comments.
You only need to watch
context.
For 4 minutes, buddy.
I guess I could do that, but yeah, there are in The Simpsons, it's one of the things that happens in The Simpsons where Homer strangles Bart, and and there are times when you just want to strangle your kids, but you kind of hold yourself back because you don't want to go to jail. But yeah, kids can be very frustrating, and they can interrupt you at times and everything, and but so it's understandable that yes, the kids can be very annoying, and my kids can be annoying at times too, and it does get frustrating. But I would have to watch this character, this child actor and character to kind of figure out, whether this is real kid behavior or just poorly written kid behavior, because there's a very big difference between those two.
Yeah, well, the actor himself who plays the kid, little Samuel, is not very good, but yeah, it's an 8-year-old kid. But the weak performance didn't really bother me. It was this kid was just hateful. I mean, you thought Jason was annoying in Heavy Rain. Your protagonist. I mentioned this in the video. Jason. You better run, because when I find you, I'm going to slap you, silly boy. Oh, man. So I talked to a bunch of people on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube about what are some of your most hateful child characters in movies. And someone mentioned Six String Samurai, movie I haven't seen. People kept coming up with a bunch of stuff that I'd never seen, which is interesting because I consider myself fairly well versed in film, but people keep bringing up stuff I've never heard of. So, all right, let us move to a new topic, and that is, here we are. Reclaim Your Game is shutting down. So, you want to talk about this a bit, Zachary?
Yeah. This is something that I haven't been following too much over the years, which I guess kind of was responsible for this action. But Reclaim Your Game was a great group of people. Lisa Pham, she was a regular commenter on Game Politics.
Years back, yeah, I haven't seen her in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen her. And she would comment about a lot of things, but she and somebody else, a couple other people started this group called Reclaim Your Game, and what it was they were big proponents of getting rid of DRM. They wanted DRM either taken completely out of video games or at least made in such a way that it's not going to be it's not going to ruin your experience playing your game. So SimCity and would have, the new SimCity game would have failed any test they had. But yeah, so and so one of the things they tried to do were buy PC games and rate them on their DRM. They play the games and figure out how the DRM functions and whether it's acceptable or not. And apparently it was a very time intensive and I guess expensive endeavor. Lisa talks about in this post where they're closing this down is that they they lost, mostly it was a fact of they couldn't get enough readership and interest in this to keep it up and running. They started out with a pretty sizable group of people, regularly commenting and contributing, but that never grew. It just shrank. And eventually it was just, she says in this article, she can count on one hand the number of people who were on the site regularly. And so there was just, really there's just no point in keeping this up and running at this point, at right now. And so they're closing it down. It's 6 years old, the site is, and they're going to keep a small WordPress site running for just a little while with some of their back catalog of interesting research and charts and everything that they've made. And eventually that's going to shut down too, because they don't want to pay for the server hosting and everything. But I just to summarize, this is their too long didn't read block here at the end. It says all RYG wanted to do is fight for gamers, but most gamers don't care enough to fight for their rights. Most publishers and developers don't care about gamers enough not to shove DRM in their games. Enforce online registrations and online connections to release half-made or badly broken games, to not fill games with paid DLCs, etc. Whatever we do, it hasn't made a difference to any of that. So there is no point in continuing with RYG. I have given up my home and been away from my family for long enough. I made some great friends along the way, and I've lost some too, but now it's time to say goodbye. So, that's the gist of it. And, it's really sad. The DRM's been a major issue for years now. Really, since the advent of PC gaming, there's always been some form of DRM. Whether it was enter the 5th word on the 7th line, the 8th page of the manual, or spin this wheel and match up these particular characters and type in what you see. It's like, things like that have been in games. There's been physical dongles that games have used, where it's like you have to have this thing plugged into this specific port in order to play the game. Even a NES game had a form of DRM in it, where it was Star Tropics, where you had this letter that came with the game, and you had to soak it in water to get a code in order to advance at a certain point in the game.
Yeah, which was impossible when you rented the game from Blockbuster.
Yeah, exactly.
For Nintendo Power.
But yeah, but nowadays, it's mostly, you've got to be online and connected to our servers in order to play. And a lot of times it's even if you want to play single player gaming. And really, I think the big thing to take away from this is that, consumers just aren't interested in fighting it. I see a lot of, Gamergate, just to tie the, as an example, is, you've got this very vocal and very strong consumer outrage at what they consider an evil, a lack of ethics in games journalism, and they've made a really big stink, and it's been really loud and boisterous and everything. But the question is, will it be able to last? And that's one of the things here is that, every once in a while there'll be a loud and vocal, we don't want DRM, but eventually it just kind of sputters out and things go back to the status quo. And I think, Lisa and those working here at Reclaim Your Game just, they're tired of that.
Yeah. Sometimes I think you can fight against something only for so long before, or even, to use the popular analogy, you can only beat your head against a brick wall before you finally realize that brick wall ain't moving anywhere. Mm-hmm. So you may as well stop. And you almost say, well, that's a defeatist attitude, but we did. I think there was a more concerted effort to fight against DRM 5 years ago, but the publishers just would not budge, no matter how much evidence, no matter how much proof you stuffed in their face. You'd grab EA by the back of the head and you'd rub its nose in the DRM and you'd say, look at what you did. Look at what you did. You're ruining it for all of us. And
well, you know why publishers won't budge, right?
Investors?
No, because gamers still line up outside the door on release day and buy the flippin' games.
That's true. If we complain
about it. If we would take a stand and not buy these games, they would remove DRM.
Yeah, that's probably true, because and it's not a matter of not being willing to put your money where your mouth is. It's this is horrible, this is terrible, please stop doing that. I'm still going to buy your game because once I get around this crap, it's still a lot of fun. And I'd hate to deny myself all of these really incredible, genuinely incredible experiences just to take a stand. And EA, Activision, Ubisoft at all are saying, well, then, keep complaining because you're still giving us your money.
Mm-hmm.
And not sure what to do about that.
Yeah, that's that really sucks. And personally, I've made a commitment in my life to never buy a game that has DRM. When I buy PC games, it's almost 100% Humble Bundle games, not these crappy Origin bundles and Ubisoft bundles, but the actual numbered bundles. And I buy from GOG, good old games. Those are my two sources of PC gaming.
No.
And then all the rest of my games are console games. Yeah.
Now, interestingly, and Gothskunk does point this out, it's not that this has never worked. There does seem to be a tipping point. And as Gothskunk points out, that was the Xbox One. Because Microsoft revealed the Xbox One and all of its DRM-tastic nonsense, and everyone just said absolutely not. And Microsoft furiously backpedaled.
Personally, I gotta say, with that particular experience, was it the consumer outrage or was it Sony's response?
It was probably a lot of that had to do with the press and the fact that Sony at the exact same time said we're not doing any of this stuff, and there was a minute-long standing ovation or something.
Yeah, exactly. And Sony spent like a week to 2 weeks after that E3 press event, continuing to lambaste, Microsoft and the Xbox One. It's like the next day they had released a video. It's like, this is how you share games on the PS4. Here you go.
But it does bring the question, how much power do we as consumers really have aside from buying or not buying? There was the Xbox One thing, which I would like us to take credit for that. There was the Sopa Pipa thing, which I would like to think we helped with that one. There was... Crap, I had a great example and I lost it. Mass Effect 3's ending. There were enough people who were truly upset about that EA
that they actually patched it.
BioWare, is it BioWare?
Yeah, BioWare.
Redid part of the ending to make it better. And so sometimes we can have an effect, but but I think with the DRM though, I think it's going to be one of those things. It's like, are you willing to, as a group of gamers, as a whole, are we willing to not buy a really, really anticipated for game? And are we willing to take a game we really want to play and not buy it in order to make a point? With Sopa and Pipa, sites all across the internet, blacked themselves out that day. That wasn't so much consumers or users, but with that, it's like it got a lot of people talking about it. Those sites that were still open had tons of comments and articles about this, and so there was all of that stuff, and so the politicians, Congress, they took notice. But with EA, when EA releases the Sim City with horrible, terrible DRM, and they still sell 2 million copies on day one, what kind of statement are we making? It's we're not making a statement at all. What we're saying is we don't like DRM, but we're going to buy your game anyways, and EA says, well, then I'm not removing DRM since you're willing to stick up with, deal with it. Yeah.
And that's the shame there. That's what.
Gypsy Brigade makes a great point, and this is something I noticed 2 years ago or whenever it was, is that Sony got Microsoft says DRM-tastic. Sony says gets a 1 minute long standing ovation for doing something awesome, for doing something well, for doing something new, unique, different? No. Sony got a 1 minute standing ovation for not being assholes, for not screwing over the company, for not doing anything. People are like, thank you, Sony, for not being as evil as Microsoft, which is kind of sad when you think about it. Sony didn't actually do anything. They just decided not to do a bunch of bad
And
stuff.
Laxter mentions that Nintendo never even thought about doing it. But the thing is that Nintendo did a pre-recorded event on that E3, so there really wasn't anything that they could do in order to respond that day. And I don't think Nintendo's the type of company that would really, do something like that anyways. But still, with the Wii U, it's just a matter of, here, do you want to borrow one of my games? And there you go. But yes, Microsoft did change their minds, and it was a combination of consumer outrage, press reporting, and Sony thing. Big combination of those three factors that really, made Microsoft say, maybe we tried to go too far.
Yeah. Cecil brings up another great point that we've discussed before, and that is, vote with your wallet, vote with your dollars, don't buy the game. But how do you make sure that the EAs, Ubisoft, Activisions of the world understand that you're pissed off about the DRM, not that you have no interest in SimCity or Assassin's Creed or whatever? I think a lot of gamers are afraid that, well, if I don't buy SimCity, Electronic Arts is going to say, well, I guess no one gives a damn about SimCity anymore. We're not going to make any of them. And yeah, we won't have DRM, but we're not going to have any SimCity either. So I think a lot of gamers...
I think part of that is going to be the press. The press needs to report on it from a consumer standpoint.
Yeah.
Gamers aren't buying this because it has DRM. Another thing is, buy an alternative. When that happened with SimCity, Good Old Games released SimCity 2000. Or they gave SimCity 2000 a major discount that day. For a certain period of time. Had gamers gone and bought SimCity 2000 in droves, sold 200,000 copies of it in one day on Good Old Games, that would have told EA that yes, there's an interest in SimCity, or even a competitor to SimCity. There's not that many out there, but there are other games that are SimCity like. You could definitely go and buy competition. There's ways to make it apparent that you want the game, but you don't want the DRM.
Right. Like as Matthew points out, City Skylines, which was developed as we'll make SimCity the right way. And from what I understand, it's a very good game and has done quite well by itself, for itself, rather. So this whole conversation actually bleeds into something Matthew posted in the shout box yesterday or the day before, which is The Point, a video show on GameSpot, pardon me, which talked about a museum that tries its best to preserve old video games, really old video games, obscure video games, and it has an open museum on the weekends where you can come in and try games on systems you've probably never heard of. And there was a lot of great stuff in this episode, and the thing that I caught on to the most is when they talked about what the EFF is constantly trying to do is get exceptions to the DMCA that allows you to that puts in exceptions for archival purposes, educational purposes, cloning a server of a game that's not supported anymore so that it can still exist, making those fair use exceptions. So if there's an old game that company X does not support anymore, it's perfectly legal to run your own private server for the game to keep it up and running.
Yeah.
The ESA and other companies kind of fight tooth and nail against that, which is really sad.
Yeah.
The thing I thought was really, really funny is, according to the guy being interviewed, the ESA has argued that you can't name, these exceptions should not pass because they're unneeded. This doesn't apply to anything. You can't name one game that you need to run a private server for because it's not supported anymore. And the guy said, that's not true. We sent them a list of 100 games just on the PS2 from the PS2's library. So
That's
yeah.
crazy. I never knew there were that many games that required the network adapter on the PS2.
I wasn't aware either, but
Yeah, they're the only two that I know of, and I don't even know the specific name of this racing game. But there was a racing game, and then there was Final Fantasy XI. Those are the only two that I know specifically require the network adapter, but I can't think of any other games just off the top of my head.
Maybe it's the multiplayer component of a bunch of games.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, there are tons of games out there, especially on the PC that you can't play anymore in order, without that server connection, because there is no server connection. And a lot of it is mainly multiplayer, where you can't play multiplayer. But if multiplayer is a big part of the game or the core part of the game, then the game is technically, done. But there are other games where it's just, you have to have that online connection to play at all. And without this DMCA exemption, even modifying that one config file to say don't check the server, you're violating the DMCA, and that's pretty terrible. But but Laxter says that there's PS2 games, Dreamcast games, and GameCube games that require the online online
Fantasy Star Online.
Fantasy Star Online. Yeah,
that was one of was there 2 games on the GameCube that actually made use?
I'm sure there was probably more in Japan, but the US didn't have very many. Even the NES had a network adapter for it.
All the Nintendo consoles have had an expansion port that have typically gone unused. But sometimes the N64 had the expansion pack. The GameCube did have a broadband adapter and the Game Boy Advance player. So it does get used now and then.
Yeah.
Of course, modern consoles have a USB port, so it's less of this magic slot in the back or underside of the unit. But now it's just a USB port. But okay, let us. What's the next one here? Okay. So the MPAA is funding research into copyright. So you can now this is supposed to be completely neutral stuff. They have a grant program where they fund research into how copyright works and how it should be used, and whether we should go for pro copyright protection or if we should enter exemptions like the EFF is calling for. But Zachary, how neutral do you think the research is going to end up being? See you, Dream Peppers.
Not very neutral at all. This is one of those things that you really cannot be neutral when it comes to something like this. If you're specifically paying for research in this area, there's no way it's going to be neutral, because one, you're either going to only fund studies that are biased in your direction, or you're going to pressure those studies into releasing executive summaries that are biased in your direction, even if the underlying study is unbiased, completely, which happens a lot. There's I I think there was something reported. I don't remember the specific study, but the actual study was pretty much the underlying study basically came up with no result one way or the other for this particular thing, whatever it was they were looking at. But the guys who actually ran the study decided they were going to write an executive summary that stated their biased opinion on what they were actually hoping to come out of this thing, and then it got reported all over the media that this study says this when actually it didn't. And I can see a lot of that happening with the MPAA's research here, because there's no way to do it. But it actually turns out that according to the Sony leaks, the email leaks that are found at WikiLeaks, somebody named Fabrizio, I don't know who this guy is, it said in an email, as you know, as one component of our academic outreach program, the MPAA is launching a global research grant both to solicit pro-copyright academic research papers and to identify pro-copyright scholars who we can cultivate for further public advocacy. So, no, they're not at all interested in unbiased research in copyright.
Yeah. They may inadvertently end up funding research that goes counter to what they want to be able to promote. But fair or not, I get the sense that they're just going to kind of sweep those studies under the rug. And those aren't going to get as much play as others.
Yeah. One of the things that has been talked about in the past, and I think Extra Credits might have done an episode on this, but I can't be 100% sure. But it has been talked about in the past that there really needs to be a double-blind funding source for research like this, where basically the researchers don't know where who's providing the money, and the people providing the money don't know where it's going, who it's going to.
They just know what kind of research is going to be done. They just know,
so it's like, the MPAA, they could, go to this unbiased, research grant, giving entity and say, here's $1 million to go towards, research into copyright. And then that group will go out and then just spread that money around to copyright groups, and without telling those researchers where the money came from, and not telling the MPAA where that money's going. So that group only knows both ends. So that way there's no issues of bias or influence on the researchers. And that's a great idea, but it's going to be hard to do when you have a group like the MPAA that wants specific pro-copyright, anti-piracy research funded.
Yeah, I agree. So, all right, let us move on to one final topic before we get out of here. And I'm going to have to say a naughty word here, folks. It's a slur, and it's not a particularly pleasant one. I apologize in advance. Okay, so on Steam Greenlight earlier this week is a game called Kill the Faggot, which, if you've seen the trailer, is a really crappy game. I mean, it doesn't look fun at all. I mean, maybe I could excuse the homophobia and mean-spiritedness if it were actually fun to play, but this is a game where you have it's a static screen. You have a little targeting reticule that you can move around the screen, and a bunch of people just in the foreground and background, there's like 3 different planes, just run back and forth across the screen, and it is your job as the player to shoot any of the LGBT peoples, but not any of the straight peoples. Now, how do you tell the difference between an LGBT person and a not LGBT person? LGBT people wear pink. That's what I got from the trailer. Apparently, if you're a guy with a beard wearing a pink dress, or a bald guy wearing a pink vest, you are, in the latter case, a transsexual, and in the former case, a gay person. Because all gay people wear pink, I guess. And I'm thinking, maybe there was an opportunity for some actual commentary here. You have a game called Kill the F Word, and you get in the game and you have all these people, and it's like, all right, now shoot all the LGBT people. Which ones are LGBT? I can't tell the difference between LGBT and straight. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
We are all the same. Hand in hand, kumbaya, all that great stuff. Something. But to the creator of this game, to his credit, let me find the quote here. Okay, here it is. To his credit, he doesn't make any bones about. He doesn't say, "Oh, it's a satire. You're just not understanding what I'm trying to say." No, he made this game to piss people off. He says, "I didn't make this game to attack LGBT people personally, and I don't hate gays or think they should be think they should be treated fairly. I made this game just to piss off those people that are way too overly sensitive, which includes straight people." Now, in a way, I kind of admire the fact that this guy is, I just made a game strictly to piss people off. That's it. There's no satire here. There's no commentary here. I just made a game to piss people off because I knew that some people would be pissed about it. And yeah, there were a lot of people that this game quite upset. So, of course, Steam, or Valve rather, yanked it off of Steam. So it's not there anymore. But what offends me most is the game looks like crap. I mean, even Action Man skateboard person, or what was that for a few weeks ago?
I don't remember.
So,
yeah.
All right, your thoughts?
I think I think if all you're doing is wanting to tick people off, I'm sure there's less offensive ways to do it. But since I guess he was going for the maximum amount of outrage, this was a pretty good way. And there's been other games like this. Newegg and E-Bomb's World used to have tons of these kind of games. I think they probably still have tons of these kind of games. Newegg being so open with its, having pretty much zero. Editorial control over the games that are released on the platform. There's been some pretty horrendous ones, like that one that where you punched Anita Sarkeesian over and over again. Mm-hmm. This is nothing new, but the fact that he released it on Greenlight, Steam Greenlight, is just kind of a strange move because, going in, he had to have known that there was zero chance that this would actually get released on Steam.
I think he was counting on it.
Yeah, I think that's, he was counting on it too. But
because this got him a lot of attention. We're talking about it. Everyone's talking about it.
That's
now.
True.
Jim Sterling talked about it. So mission accomplished. Now everyone knows about it. And this guy is working. I didn't look at what the game was, but his company, and I have no idea if it's just him or him and a few other people, are working on something else. So this may be a very shrewd method of, we're going to just make something so offensive that everyone can't help but pay attention to us so that we can sell them the real game that we're working on.
See, and I don't know how effective that would be. If you tick people off, are they actually going to want to buy another game from you?
Yeah, just because they've heard of you now doesn't mean I want to patron you.
Yeah, this is a very different thing from take Phil Fish and Fez.
Yeah.
People loved Fez. Fez apparently is a great game. I actually own it from the Humble Bundle. I haven't played it yet, but people love Fez. But they didn't like Phil Fish as a person, or in general, people didn't like Phil Fish as a person. And
as a social media presence, at least.
Yeah, I guess that would be a good way of saying it. But they were still looking forward to Fez 2 because they liked Fez 1. And so, but this guy, their first foray, their first game that they showed people was so offensive that they're like, people are like, can we really expect these guys to make a good game now? And I seriously doubt it. And I think they really blundered on this one.
Yeah, I suppose it would be like a chef purposefully making the most disgusting piece of food ever. Everyone's talking about it. And everyone knows the chef's name now, but man, no one's going to eat at your place now.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good analogy right there, I think. And that's people have been soured on these guys. So, but yeah, hatred is different. Goth Skunk brings up hatred, and
like it might be fun to play.
Yeah, hatred is a
theme.
Yeah, if you can get past the theme, the graphics are very well done. The art style is very good. And I don't know how it plays because I've never played it, but it looks like it will play like your typical top-down shooter. But it looks like it could be a fun game to play. But this other game, this homophobic game, just really didn't look all that fun at all. So even looking past the theme, there really was nothing fun about it. Yeah, so
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how hatred works in comparison to something like Postal 2, because Postal 2, the object of the game is go to the store and get milk, and you can go to the store, buy milk, go to the bank, get some money, go to the store, wait in line, get your milk, and go home, and you've completed day one. It does become kind of difficult because there are a lot of really mean people in that city who try to shoot you on sight. So playing Postal 2 pacifistically is not very easy because everyone's out to get you, and more each day. Hatred,
I watched your video, and it's like basically every time you turned a corner, there was some event that wanted, that was designed specifically to get you to react and start killing people.
Mm-hmm. So. The Postal seems to refer to everyone else in Postal 2, not necessarily your character. Although you can certainly go beating people with shovels and using cats as silencers and urinating all over the place. You have the options. There are buttons for that. But in Hatred, I'm wondering if what if you don't shoot anyone? Can you what actually is the goal? Is it kill 500 people and then the level ends? And if you don't kill anyone, you're just going to stand there forever? I don't know. I'd be interesting to see how the mission structure of that game is set up.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a good point. It's like, is there an alternative play style for this game? Or is it really just, if you don't do anything, does the game not progress at all? Based on my impression, that seems to be what's going to happen. Is if you don't kill anything,
you're not going
to progress. But that may change, once the game's released. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to see. But,
yep. Yeah. Okay. It's getting dark, so I think we're going to leave. So let me double check YouTube, make sure we don't have any. I haven't been ignoring anybody. Okay, good. All right. So, come on. There we go. So, all right. Nice show. Well done, everyone. Thank you, everyone in the chat. We're going to plug our stuff and get out of here. My name's Andrew Eisen, E-I-S-E-N. At Andrew Eisen is the Twitter. Andrew Eisen YouTube is Facebook. And just type my name into YouTube and you'll find my channel where I'm currently running 30 days of Netflix. Today is day 9. And I watched, what was today? The remake, the 2012 remake of Maniac with Elijah Wood. My sister's a big fan of Elijah Wood, and she squeals very loudly whenever you say his name. You can hear her across state lines. It's amazing. Tomorrow, I encourage you to watch day 10 of 30 Days of Netflix, where I watched the first 5 episodes of Gem and the Holograms, a cartoon from the mid-'80s, because in describing the show, I end up laughing so hard that tears are streaming down my face. So, and there's nothing more contagious than laughter. So if you need a good laugh, watch day 10 tomorrow and giggle at me losing my stuff over a cartoon. Yeah, that's it for me. So Zachary, plug away.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at Easy Night, and you can also follow my game development work, DK_gaming on Twitter and DivineKnightGaming.com. And, there's also a Divine Knight Gaming page on Facebook and Google+, so look those up. And if you're interested in the Oklahoma game development scene, you can check out OK Game Devs on Twitter and OKGameDev.com. There's plenty of stuff there, so check those out.
All right. Before we sign off, Goth Skunk says regarding hatred, since the player leaves their house with an assault rifle in their hands, I imagine if you don't shoot people, people will still panic. Yeah, if you do, that's a good point. People are like, holy crap, and run and call the police, and the police show up and drop your weapons. I suppose you could just walk out of your house and stand there until the cops show up and arrest you and game over. That could be what happens.
Maybe.
Laxter asks, do I use a particular program to catalog my games, movies? Yes, it's called, let me find it. I'm looking on my desktop. It's a picture of a CD. DVD Profiler is what it's called. So, yeah, basically you type in the USP number, and it pulls up. There's a big database of cover scans and everything, and makes a nice file, and you can upload that online or save it locally. But if your house burns down, a local copy probably isn't going to help you much in the end. But yeah, DVD Profiler. It's you can archive locally for free. I think uploading the copy somewhere. Of course, you could just, if you have cloud storage, you can take the backup file and put it there, or email it to yourself or whatever. But I think it's only $20 or $30. So yeah, DVD Profiler. Do you use any cataloging for any of your movies, games, things like that?
I need to do it again, but it's something that has been on my to-do list. But I was just planning on using Excel or something. Yeah, just typing in the name of the DVD and game, and USB number or ISBN if it has it.
Mm-hmm.
And, for books, I guess, and then doing it that way. Definitely need to catalog my electronics. That's a big thing. But yeah, it's just something that I've been slacking on. So
yeah, it's interesting. Let me launch DVD Profiler, see how many DVDs I have. It's interesting because a DVD Profiler has several different ways that it can count your collections. For example, the various box sets I have, do you count that as one? For instance, Urusei Yatsura, the first one has 5 DVDs in it. Is that 1 or is it 5? So I have 1,139, but the way I organize it, a box set only counts as 1. So the Kuragane Orange Road, which is like 12 or 13 DVDs right there, is just 1 instead of 12 or 13.
So does your Lord of the Rings count as 1 or under that?
Lord of the Rings, I think, counts as 3. Even though, because I have the extended editions here, so I have Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King. So that counts as 3, even though each one is 4 discs.
Okay.
And there's a way to break it out.
I was just wondering if because you can buy like the box set of the 3 movies. So I guess that would count as one. But,
yeah. So I look at it as how many movies or shows do I own,
yeah.
and over 1,000. It seems like. But then again, I think this is the Mystery Science Theater 3000 DVDs. How do you count that? They're collections of 4. Do you count a collection as 1, or do you count it as 4 separate movies? I don't know.
Yeah.
It depends. But I have a fair. Now I've seen people with much larger collections.
Oh yeah.
So mine is very small compared to others, but I've got a lot of anime.
I used to have a neighbor that we were good friends with, and we used their house as our rental place.
Yeah.
This was back before Redbox and before we had Netflix, because they just had tons and tons of movies. This guy's had been collecting movies since he was 16, and he was like 30 when we met him, and so he had tons of movies. So we'd just go over there and it's like, can we borrow a movie? And they're like, okay.
Yeah, so I went in the early 2000s. I got into anime because anime started becoming available here. In the 90s, you could find a copy of Ghost in the Shell or Ninja Scroll, but starting in the 2000s and working on through the decade, it exploded, and we had access to all this stuff, and I was just enamored of it because I'd never seen anything like it. So I started buying. I have Love Hina here somewhere, which, if it's the first harem anime you've ever seen, it's special. But after seeing a ton of anime, it's kind of crap. It's not very good. I mean, it does have its charm, but I certainly wouldn't buy the show today. So a significant chunk of my collection is actually anime, and some of it, like My Hime, is not very good. But I bought it just because I'd never seen anything like this stuff before. It is, if nothing else, it is very different from the type of entertainment we have here in America. But now that I have seen a ton of anime over the last 15 years or so, I have much more discriminating taste. So I very rarely actually buy anime anymore. I think Death Note might be the most recent anime I purchased. Although I'll probably get Attack on Titan at some point because I really did enjoy that show, and I'd like to check out the manga too. But I'm the kind of guy who typically waits for the whole run to be done and then buys the entire thing rather than buying volume 17 and then waiting 2 months for the next one. I hate that. I have no patience. I have no patience yet. I'll wait for the entire run to finish. So anyway, let us close the show. Thank you everyone for showing up and chatting with us tonight. We'll be back next week, Saturday night, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Pardon me. So, episode Super Podcast Action Committee coming at you next week, one episode 143. Send us email at superpackpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at superpackpodcast. Subscribe and rate us on iTunes whenever we get back on there, and like us on Facebook. That's it for us. Take care. We will see you next week.
See ya.